Hi everyone, Tanya with Riley and Company. I'm here today to show you how to make this cute slimline card from the OOAK June 2021 kit. Now in that kit, it also came with this and that as well. If you bought the kit, never fear, your instructions are in there. And it also came with this pad of paper. Cute, huh? But today we're going to focus on this one. Now, the first thing that I do when I start my cards, I like to edge them with a little bit of vintage photo. Now, this step is optional, but I want to show you what it does. If you look at this piece of paper versus that piece of paper, this just looks more finished, and there's a white edge on this one, and there's not on that. You don't have to go real heavy. You just go along the edge just to, you know, kind of give it a little bit of a finish, and that's all I do. Neat little trick that I learned a long time ago. So when I sit down, I just do everything real quick. And again, this is optional, so you don't have to. And I'm just going to do one side, one edge of this one because it's going to be underneath. All right, and that is all. Oh, we're going to do our big piece too. And if you've noticed, I haven't re-inked. That's how light I use the ink on this. I just want to get rid of that little white on the edges. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to attach, let me get all this stuff out of the way. We are going to attach this piece to our base. All right, this is a slimline card, so I believe it is a 4x9. Let me make sure. Yep, 4 inches across, 9 inches long, which would be an 8-inch by 9-inch paper. And I'm using my zip dry. And I love zip dry because you can put it on and it lets you move it around while it's still wet. But the great thing is, if you make a mistake and you have to remove it, this is actually a second take of this video I've done because I did have a piece of paper that was cut wrong and I had to remove it and start over. So I just pulled it off and rubbed off all the glue and put it on again. All right, so the next pieces that we are going to attach are the, I call them ribbons, I guess. And on my paper, what we're going to do is just cut a little inverted V here on each one. And then don't forget to come back in if you're inking yours up and just adding a little bit more ink there. And then we're just going to glue these on. This paper that's in this pack is adorable. So when you turn this over, the red over, it is so cute. Echo Park has some of the best papers. And they're nice and sturdy as well. And I can still move that just a tad. So we're going to lay that down there. Now, this kit was one of those that you had to use some of your papers from your pad. And I explained which to cut and had all your instructions on there. This is the one that you're going to have to cut out of your paper pad. And I am just going to put a little strip of glue along the top of that. And then I'm going to tuck my red piece right in underneath it. And then right in behind that, let's give this a little bit, and right in behind that, I'm going to tuck my purple piece. There you go. And then I'm just going to, with my scissors, I'm just going to snip it off. And we are going to attach that piece to the bottom. Oops. Get that up there so you guys can see it. Can you see it? There you go. Just like that. These are super simple cards. I like to keep them simple. right, so now you have some string and a giraffe, and they're all getting entangled. So I'm going to take my sentiment saying, and I'm just going to put it on here, get it nice and centered. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of foam tape. You can use pop dots. You can glue it flat if you want to. I just like to raise them up because this is what our little giraffe is going to be standing on. Okay, and I just kind of put it right there. All right, now we're good. Now the last thing that we have to do is just color our giraffe in. And I have listed the colors that you need on the instructions. And if you don't have the instructions, I will tell you as we go along. So let's do our balloons first. I used purples on this one. Now keep in mind, I've got 3 different colors here, but you don't have to use 3 different colors, and you don't even have to use Copics. I just prefer Copics. It's just kind of my thing. But I always get a piece of paper. Hang on a second. I get a piece of paper and I test them out to make sure that's the color I want before I use it. So we are just going to do this balloon. And with Copics or any kind of alcohol markers, it's best if you work in a circle. Don't forget his little thing. And then I'm going to take my next darkest color and I'm just going to create some shading there. And then I'm going to come back with my first marker and blend it all in along the edge. Now with these type of markers, you can also get a little bit of a shadow with the second application of your original marker. They're really wonderful. For this piece, and you do not have to do this, I just took a little bit and just went along the bottom edge just to create a little bit more of a shadow. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm going to come back in with my first marker and shade that in. You know, heck, you don't even need to make it a purple balloon. If you want a green balloon, use green. If you've got red, use red. So those were V15, V17, and BV11. Now I'm going to go to the red balloon right here. So I'm going to take an R22. It's kind of a salmon color. And we're just going to do circles and cover the whole thing. Now I'm going to show you. I'm just going to let that sit and dry for a second. Now if I come in, I want to do my shadows behind the first balloon, of course. So if I just come in with another application, it's going to make it just a little bit darker. You guys can kind of see that. You can work with just one marker if you want. If you have more, I used R24 and I just came around the back parts and along the bottom. And I'm going to do circles and it's going to blend right into that. Then I'm going to take my yellow and I use Y15. And I'm going to fill this guy in. One thing I like about Copics is that you can change the tips out, and obviously this needs a new one. Now, if I were to just let it set for a second, I could come back in again and give it a shadow with the same marker. Or I could turn around and use another color, which is my Y38. This is kind of my go-to marker. And I can just bring a little bit more of a shadow in with it. All right, and we have it. We're ready to go. The balloons are done. So the next thing we're going to tackle is our giraffe. And this is going to sound really strange. I know, but I'm going to take my E33 and I am literally going to go over all of him. And the reason is that I want to give the giraffe a full alcohol base. so that all my other markers will blend in on top of it. Now I'm not going to do his eyes. So I'll be real careful around those. And I'm just giving it a base so that my other colors can blend in with it. All right, so the top of his head, I used a little bit of yellow. You can notice that he's kind of a little yellowish, and I did that so that the balloon and everything would all blend together. So I am just going to take my Y35 and I'm going to go back over the top parts. Okay, I'm going to come back in and just give it another base of a yellowish brown this way. And you guys are probably thinking, well, why didn't she just do that the first time? Well, I couldn't find a marker color that I liked for this, and I tend to just sit and play. So now I'm going to come back over, and this, just go back over it with my yellow. See, I just changed him up a little bit. Now in the Mushroom Lane line, I take a lot of time to color. In the Riley line, we've kind of built it so that you don't have to. So now I'm going to go back in with that E33 again, and I'm just going to start, this is where we're going to start shading. So now I'm going to bring this down in, and I'm going to keep it along the left side. If you notice here, there's light here and dark here. So now we're going to bring our color back in. And you can actually go over the spots if you want. But I'm going to bring it down around the bottom. So I'm going to pretend that the light is coming in this direction. All right. So I'm really not going to touch anything over in here. But I am going to make sure I get him a little shadow there. And his ears are going to have some shadows, of course. Okay. Now, if you hear that noise in the background, that is the cat trying to get my attention. So now I'm going to go in, and this is where I kind of start going around the spots because I don't want to get them a different color of brown. So I'm just going to use my E35. Whoops, that one on the edge. And I'm just going to follow it up the edge. Just a little bit. I'm going to put just a tiny bit there. I'm going to put it on his arms. All right. Just like that. Now, if you bring your E33 back in and do this, we're just going to shade it. We're just going to blend it, I'm sorry. And if you bring your yellow back in, you can really shade it out. Blend it out. Gosh. There, see how I did that? Now it's all nice and blended. So we are going to add, let's see, let's put some spots on him with E37. So that's what we're going to color the spots in with. And if you're a very fancy Copic color, yes, you can even shade the spots if you want. Me, for this one, I'm just going to add them in. Okay. Alrighty. And we're going to add just a little bit more up here in his ears. Now we're going to be very, 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 very careful with this and just add a little bit there and a little tiny bit under his chin just to give it a little bit of a shadow there. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do, and pull a little into his tail. The final thing we're going to do is take our E47 and I'm going to color his hoofs. A little bit on his tail. All right, and then this is little mane. I think that's what they call these. There we go, and we are done. Now, the only other thing that I do is I add a little bit of B00 in the eyes just to brighten it up. And we are finished. Isn't that easy? So simple. The next step is going to be, you've got a long piece of string, and we're just going to cut that in thirds. All right. 3 little pieces. We're going to put all the ends together. All right, and we're going to tie it in a knot. And this is going to be the end that he's holding. So leave a little bit of string there at the end so we can put it in underneath his hoof. So see, we've got a little bit there. Now the other ends, we're just going to trim off like the super long piece. We are going to attach to our balloons. And it's real simple. We're just going to cut 3 pieces of foam tape. Because we want these to pop up too. Might be just a little big here. Maybe not. All right. And this is not real precise. And the not being precise is what makes it look kind of fun. All right, just lay it down kind of naturally, and we're going to stick 1 there, and 1 there, and 1 under there. Now, you're going to try to get it to where it looks like, it's very sticky, to where it looks like it's supposed to be in that little hole, okay? I just stuck them on there to start with, just to get them in place. And there we go. Just trim off the excess. All right. We'll bring our card back in, and we are going to just kind of set him in place there for a second, so we know where we have. So we've got plenty of room. So I'm going to put these up in the corner. We're going to add some foam to our giraffe. I tend to kind of overload it on the foam, can you tell? And body. Now here's where it gets tricky. We need 2 little tiny weeny pieces, or 4 actually, for his hooves. All right, so we are just going to attach this teeny weeny little piece. And instead of using the dies, I cut him out by hand, which is silly, and I cut off his hoof. But you guys will get the gist. So we've got that guy done, and we're just going to do 3 more pieces. If you have little miniature squares, this is a great time to use them. All right. Oopsie. Okay. And we will take off the paper. And I took off the actual foam. Those get a little tricky when they're small, huh? There we go. And we are, let me make sure this guy's got, nope. All right, we're good to go. Oops. We're so good to go that I took that off there. For crying out loud, look at that. There's your humor. All right, so here we go. We're just going to sit him on here, just like he's standing on this thing. Okay. And underneath his, let's see, I think I want him to just go out that way. There we go. And underneath that one, we are just going to stick the string, and we're done. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. This is the, and by the way, this is the basic giraffe set out of the Riley Dress Up line. This is a Funny Bones If You Were Milk, and this is out of the Dress Up birthday accessory set. Have a great day. Take care.